Okay, so welcome everybody to this webinar on AML compliant onboarding. It's great to see we had a lot of signups for this webinar. My name is Eric Dukvos and I'm a technical pre-sale in SMB, an online channels department in Signicat. We've set out 30 minutes for this webinar, so you're aware of that. So let's take a look at the agenda. We'll first introduce the registry lookup products and then take a look at the geographical coverage of these. Then we'll take a look at two demo use cases. One B2C, where we'll see an onboarding compliant with AML regulations. And then a B2B example, where we will control signing rights, procuration, credit check, ownership, etc. And we'll demo these two in Postman, and we will also demo this in a code example. And finally, we'll round off with some technical considerations and how to get started. So let me quickly say a few words about Signicat. We were established in 2007, and we are an European leader in the digital identity, signing, and fraud management space. We're growing quite rapidly, and we are over 400 employees now with customers in over 40 countries. I think this slide, in a way, covers the essence of what we do. Both persons and organizations can be onboarded with identity verification and identity validation. And what is meant by onboardings are typically the first time establishment of the customer relationship. And for returning customers, we offer secure authentication with over 30 electronic ID integrations. And we also offer signature, sealing, and storage. And the AML regulations, they come into play typically in the onboarding phase. So let us take a closer look at that. So to perform compliant onboardings, we need to validate customer data from several sources. So let's take a look at what kind of data is available from Signicat's platform. For individuals, we have a data category called basic info. And this will give us back the name of a person, address, nationality, birth location, etc. We can also verify addresses for people all across the globe. We can screen against lists with politically exposed persons, sanctions, and also adverse media. And we can retrieve finance info for a person, such as payment score, payment remarks, and income and wealth data. And for businesses, we also have this basic info category, where we can get organization and VAT number, registration data, addresses, which country it's registered in, business type, legal status, industry information, and also some other information. Ownership, who owns how much, and what kind of rights do they have. We also have ultimate beneficial owners for businesses. It describes the natural person who is the ultimate effective owner of an organization. And that's even if that person is not the direct owner of that organization. We also have roles for businesses that provide a personal details of persons who have a registered role in that organization. So that can be board members, daily management, for example. And also the sanction list to see if that organization has been sanctioned on a global or a local list. And we also have finance data for organizations. So you can retrieve information such as credit rating, yearly profit, turnover figures, that sort of data. This table here shows the data types for natural persons and which country you can find different data. And new data points are on the roadmap. For example, finance data from more countries. Those will be added shortly. So feel free to contact us with your needs if you have anything that's not on this table. And this is the organization registry coverage. It is very well covered due to our global data providers. And you can also find these tables on our documentation page, where we also keep the tables up to date when new registries are added. One big advantage of integrating your backend to Signicat's registry lookup API is that one single API will give you access to a lot of data sources. And another big advantage is that you will get the results back in a normalized way, meaning that every response from different sources will have the same syntax. Okay, so let's dive into a compliant onboarding. First of a natural person. Anti-money laundering, that is the laws that describe the customer due diligence measures and reporting obligations to fight money laundering. The AML regulations are defined by local law. So for the rest of this example, I will be using a Norwegian example. So a Norwegian bank ID as an electronic ID method, and folkeregisteret as an address source. And this will also be a slightly condensed AML version. And we have written a blog post that has a lot of details on this topic that we will also send out after the webinar to your emails. Okay, so the information we need to gather for a compliant onboarding, that is the name and national identification number. And we can typically get this with, for example, Norwegian bank ID, a passport scanning, or some sort of other document type scanning. Address lookup, we can get that typically through a government registry, such as folkeregisteret, and PEP and sanction status through a reliable party, for example, one that Signicat can provide. So this means that we have typically 3 API requests here: authentication, address lookup, and PEP and sanction search. So let's just go through each of those 3 requests. We'll do it first in Postman and then in a code example. And Postman is a tool for making API calls in a simple way. So let's see how we can do an authentication first in Postman. So this is in Postman, and what I've done is to download our Signicat Express authentication collection, and this is available on our development page. The first thing we need to do is to get an access token. And for that, we need our token URL, client ID, and secret. And this can be generated in our test environment that I will link to later. So we have our access token. Let's do a post request to the Express authentication. So this is the endpoint we're going to, api.signicat.io, identification sessions. And we've done some configurations here. We're saying that the flow is going to be redirect. So after the authentication, the end user will be redirected. We're allowing Norwegian Bank ID and Norwegian Bank ID on mobile. Include, that means which data will be retrieved, what information we want back from the authentication. So we're saying name, we want date of birth, and we also want national identification number. And then we're setting our success URL. So meaning where the user will be redirected after a successful authentication. So I'm gonna send this. And we get an URL back. And this URL we will typically send the end user to. And it's going to look like let's see, I'm just trying to get this window. Sorry, hold on 2 seconds here. Here we have the URL we got back from the Postman request. Okay, so we see Norwegian Bank ID and Norwegian Bank ID mobile as we specified. And this is in the test environment. So we're going to use Norwegian test user for Bank ID. And this test user is also available on our development page. Okay. So we are redirected back to the page we set. So that seems successful. What we will do now is to take this session ID and we will try to retrieve the authentication data. So I'm using this second request here, get retrieve identification status. And then we're going to insert the ID in the URL as an input. And let's send this. And we can see in the response that the status is success. And here we have the identity information. So we see the full name of the test user, we see the date of birth, and we also got back the national identification number. And that was what we needed for this step. So we're actually done with the first step now. So let's move on to the second step, address lookup. And this address lookup, we also have a collection for. It's called Signicat Information API. We're doing a person search, and we'll go to the basic request to get back as lot of information as we can. The input in this request is just the identification number, and also we're specifying that this is a Norwegian person. So let's actually get an access token first to get this to work. So this is exactly the same way as I did previously. Let's rerun it. And we get back the information about this person. The reason for the weird names is that this is a Norwegian test user. So we get name information, birth location, birth date, country, nationality, citizenship, and we also get the permanent address. And this was what we were looking for. You can see that right here. Nice. Now we're done with the second step already. So let's jump to the third step, PEP sanction. And that is in the same Signicat information endpoint here. It's called screening. It's also pretty straightforward. We input the national identification number with the country code in front of it, NO for Norwegian country, and we're going to search in the PEP and on the sanction list. So this test user is actually on the PEP list. We can see that here. And if this would have been empty, that means the person is not on the PEP list. And we also get some additional information on which list they're found on. Yeah, so that was it for onboarding a person in demo, in Postman, I mean. So let's take a look at the code example. And that's an example written in .NET and React. This code example is posted on our developer page. So you can find this by going to developer.signicat.com and then to the Express platform. In here, you'll find a tab called registry lookups. And in that again, a code example. So this is gonna be an authentication and then a lookup, an address lookup. And if we set this up correctly, you can find all the code and information here. It's gonna look like this. So let's just try it out quickly. I'm gonna do Norwegian Magadi. So to repeat myself, we're gonna do an authentication. The backend is gonna retrieve the national identification number. And then we're gonna search for the address for this person through Folkeregisteret. And then we can see that this person was found in Folkeregisteret and has this address. So this code example can be used as a starting point for your own integration, where you of course can adapt it to your use case. All right, let's move on. So let us switch from onboarding a person to an organization instead. Anti-money laundering compliant organization onboardings involve several activities and therefore several lookups. These typically include identification of the customer, checking signing rights on behalf of a company, ownership, ultimate beneficiary owner, checking financials, and sanction status. These are also subject to local laws. For example, ultimate beneficiary owner will depend on the organization to report their information to the registries. And Signicat has normalized these responses. So one integration can be used for several countries. So we'll take a look at some of these in Postman. We can do basic info, signing rights, ownership, and then also credit check and sanction status. So let's go back to Postman, and we have the organization collection right here, also under Signicat Information API. Okay, so let's start with this basic endpoint. What we do is to input the organization number and also specify the country. So let's send this, and we get back the name of the company, organization number, registry date and country, business address, and also other types of addresses. What kind of business is it? When is it active? How many employees? Also, what industry do we find this company in? And we're also always transparent on our sources. You can see that this information is from Brønnøysund Registra. Authorization. Let's jump over to that one, who can act on behalf of the company. We're also inputting organization number and the country. So signature, meaning who can sign on behalf of the company and under which circumstances. So we can find all that information here. And let us scroll down in the response a bit, where we'll find power of procuration. Who has the procuration rights in this company? Okay, and then over to ownership. It's the same input, organization number, and the country. And we get back who owns this company. So this is an example with Equinor. So we see who owns how much. You can see that going down there. We can also do a finance search. This is a test organization number. And we're going to search for a test user in Sweden or a test organization. And we see that this company has the highest credit worthiness, AAA. And we can see the number of payment remarks and profit and loss over the last years. Let's also do a screening. So to check if an organization is on the sanction list, on any sanction list. We're saying that we're going to search on the sanction, and we're also inputting the organization number. Okay, so this is a test organization, and it shows here it is on the sanction list. And then we can find more information about which list this is, and yeah, other types of information as well. All right, let's move on. It's not much left actually. But one thing I haven't mentioned so far is that continuous monitoring is also a requirement under the AML regulations. And Signicat can help with a monitoring API we have. And in that API, you will get notified when the sanction or the PEP status is changed for natural persons. Yes, and also remember that AML regulations can vary from country to country. You can quickly and for free create a test account. You can just go to developer.signicat.com/express and make a free test account. And then make the integration. We have both the Postman collections and the code example on our developer site. And we can also help you every step of the way and guide you on how to take this into production. So if you want more information about other countries, data types, feel free to contact us and we can provide more information about your use case. Let's see if we have some questions. Yeah, we have one question here. I think we can do maybe 2 or 3 questions. You can see we have time for that. So one question is, what does the score in PEP sanction result mean? Yeah, I think it's easiest to just look at that in Postman. So I guess that question referred to this score here. It's showing how certain we are that the result belongs to the person or organization that we search for. So since we gave in the organization number here, we're very certain that this is the right company we found. And we know that this test user is Agderposten. So what we can do as well is to just give in the name of this test organization and not the identification number. So let's try this out. Yeah, now we can see the score is low. 20. It's a number from 20 to 100. So I guess several companies can be named Agderposten. Maybe it's similar to some other company. Should I use the Express or Enterprise environment? Yes, the short answer to that is that the lookup API is only available in Express. But you might have other needs as well. So I think it's best if you send us an email and we can help you with choosing the right environment for you. Okay, let's do one more question. Which electronic IDs do you provide? We have access to the Nordic electronic IDs on the Express platform. And on the Enterprise platform, we have access to over 30 electronic IDs. Yeah, I can see we've used 30 minutes now. So we will answer the rest of the questions on email. We have your email from when you signed up. And we will also send out the links that I referred to, the blog post, and also the documentation. So thank you for your time and have a great day.